streptococci. It causes, we do screening of B streptococci in pregnant females. And it can be secondary to hematogenous disseminations, for example, tuberculosis. So you're well aware that tuberculosis can cause genital infection, that is a genital TB. So, or through hematogenous spread or staphylococcal bacteremia. So these are the causes of your PID. The PID basically inflammation and infection of the female reproductive system. So how PID will present, since it has the various parts of your of female reproductive system. So it may present as endometritis. That is the inflammation of endometrium. Then it may lead to inflammation of fallopian tubes, salpingitis, inflammation of ovary, or your oophorytis, or may present as tubo-ovarian abscess. Then it may extend up to the pelvis, to the peritoneum, and may cause peritonitis, hepatitis, pelvic abscess. So the pelvic inflammatory will manifest in these forms. So how do we treat them? So these bacteria you must have read, must have been covered in other system. So how do we treat PID? So we basically do the syndromic approach. What a syndromic approach is that the treatment is done on the basis of the signs and symptoms. So we have a syndromic approach for various, STI, like if there's a vaginal discharge, there's a different approach for the treatment. If there's genital ulcers, a different approach for treatment. So for a pelvic inflammatory disease, which will present as lower abdominal pain, so the patient will present, general symptoms will be lower abdominal pain, right? Because of the inflammation, which will be there. There could be fever also, but not usually. So if the patient is having these symptoms, complaint of lower abdominal pain, we take the history, examine the abdomen and the vagina, and we see whether the female has missed her periods, or there has been recent delivery or abortion, or if there is any rebound tenderness or vaginal bleeding. If this is there, then we need to refer. And if this is not there, then we'll check the temperature. And if it is painful, if there's tenderness during examination, or if there's vaginal discharge, then we treat it as PID. Okay? We treat it as PID, we educate, we counsel the patient, we promote contraceptives, condoms, and also do the partner management. And we follow the patient after 3 days or sooner if the pain persists. If it improves, then the treatment is continued. If not, then we refer the patient again. So, but if the fever is not there, then we follow the patient if the pain persists. So this is basically a flowchart for the syndromic approach for the lower abdominal pain. Similarly, we have for the genital ulcers, but vaginal discharge also. So what is the treatment? For the outpatient treatment, as I told you, there's a syndromic treatment. So we give single dose therapy for uncomplicated gonorrhea infections. So we give ceftriaxone, which is found to be effective, plus we give doxycycline, 100 milligram orally twice daily, or tetracycline, 5 milligram orally. And the treatment has to be continued for 14 days. Along with this, we give metronidazole twice daily, 400 to 500 milligram for 14 days. So there is another alternative syndromic treatment where if the single dose of therapy of gonorrhea infection is not available, then we can give trimethoprim and sulfamethoxamol drug. We give it for 10 days. Along with this, we give doxycycline or tetracycline, which is to be given for 14 days, plus metronidazole again, which is to be given for the 14 days. So these are the drug regimes which one has to follow. And this is from the WHO manual. These are WHO guidelines for the treatment of the STI, specifically for your pelvic inflammatory disease. So if inpatient treatment, it is generally required when the patient is not responding to outpatient treatment, or if there is any other complication, then we give ceftriaxone, which is to be given through intramuscular injection once daily. Along with this, we give doxycycline, which is 100 milligram orally or by IV twice daily, or if doxycycline is not there, we can use tetracycline. You should know that these two are same class of drug. And plus we give metronidazole. So metronidazole, you must all be aware that this cover your anaerobic infection as well. Okay, this is mainly for your anaerobic infections. This is one regime which we follow, or we can give clindamycin through IV injection every 8 hourly, plus gentamicin is given again through IV infection every 8 hourly. Another combination is ciprofloxacin, which can be given twice daily, or along with the ciprofloxacin, we give doxycycline or tetracycline, plus metronidazole again. So these are the drug treatment which we give for the in case of PID. Supposedly you get a question on pelvic inflammatory disease, then this syndromic approach is important. How we will going to treat the PID, and etiology is important. So it has number of organisms. The common most are and this must have been covered in some other system. So another important topic is which virus which causes genital infection is HPV. It causes warts, genital warts. So this particular virus, it belongs to family Papilloviridae, and it's icosahedral in shape, non-enveloped, and it has a double-stranded circular DNA. This is the DNA virus, just double-stranded. And important thing is that they infect your epithelia, squamous epithelia, and the mucous membrane. So they show the affinity to these cells. So coming to the viral genome, it has these early protein regions and late protein regions, and non-coding regulatory regions. So these early genes, they code for your non-structural protein. So we have these genes from E1 to E7. So E1 and E2, they are involved in your DNA replication, viral DNA replication. Then the products of early gene E6 and E7, they have the oncogenic potential. So this particular virus, HPV, it has an oncogenic potential. Okay. You must know it. You must know the viruses which have these oncogenic potential. So HPV is one of the virus, and I'm sure you must have read other viruses as well. You should know the list of the virus which have these oncogenic potential. And E6 gene, it facilitates the degradation of P53 tumor suppressor protein. So we have this tumor suppressor protein, which is a tumor suppressor gene. So it will cause degradation of this particular gene. So it will facilitate the oncogenic potential of the virus. And the E7, it binds to the retinoblastoma gene products and related proteins. So this is how it is involved in the, this is how it is responsible for cancer, basically. Then these late region genes, that is L1 and L2, they code for the structural proteins. And these HPV, they have been typed on the basis of DNA sequence of the L1 region into various serotypes. So we have more than 100 serotypes of HPV. As I told you, they have selective tropism for epithelium of skin and the mucous membrane, and they produce array of infections ranging from benign warts. So they will produce warts up to malignant neoplasia of the cervix. Not only cervix, it can cause neoplasia of your penile region, vulva, etc. So, but cervix neoplasia is common with HPV, and it is transmitted by indirect or direct contact, which including it's including your sexual contact. So very commonly, it can spread by sexual contact, and this particular virus may also cause. It can also cause, you know, carcinoma of your, the infection in mouth also, because of this various, sexual behavior. Then incubation period is 2 to 8 months. So benign warts, it's a small, hard, rough growth on the skin which is seen, and it may occur as the common skin warts known as verruca vulgaris, or flat warts, verruca plana. And this particular serotypes, HPV 2, 4, 27, and 57. I told you we have more than 100 serotypes. So this common skin warts, they are common with the HPV 2, 4, 27, 57. Then plantar warts, as the name suggests, they are the plantar regions. They are benign lesions and prevalent in adolescent, most commonly seen with serotype 1. Then they also form the warts in anogenital regions. Condyloma acuminatum, and it is a sexually transmitted and seen in adults. It's commonly associated with HPV serotype 6 and 11. Then it also causes epidermodysplasia verrucosiformis with verruciformis, which is a rare autosomal recessive benign condition, and this benign condition may later progresses to your squamous cell carcinoma, and it is common with HPV 5, 8, 9, 12, so on and so forth. Then very important thing, it causes the cervical lesions, and these cervical lesions could be benign and the malignant, depending on the serotype. So we have this cervical intraepithelial neoplasia, which is a benign condition, and it is caused by the low risk HPV, which is your 6 and 11. And we have high risk HPV also. So 16, 18, 31, 33, these are high risk HPV, and they causes carcinoma of cervix. That is a malignant condition. So it has been seen that in 50% of cervical cancers, HPV 16 is a common serotype, which is associated with the cervical cancers, and HPV along 16 along with the 17, they are responsible for the 70% of cervical squamous cell carcinoma. And this high risk HPV can cause squamous cell carcinoma in other genital regions, like your penis, anus, vagina, and vulva. So important thing we need to remember is, apart from genital warts, the benign conditions, that is your warts, anorectal warts and all, it may also lead to malignant conditions. So this is very commonly seen in, it's very common cancer seen in women, and we do have a method to identify this particular infection by screening method, which is, you must have heard of Pap smear, which is done in advisable in women in reproductive age group. So apart from these cervical lesions, it may also cause head and neck lesions. So it may lead to recurrent laryngeal papillomas, which is a benign lesion, commonly seen in children with HPV 6 and 11. And malignant lesions, like that is your laryngeal and esophageal carcinoma, which is seen with HPV 16 and 18. So it leads to benign warts, it leads to rare autosomal benign conditions, then cervical lesions, which can be benign, malignant. It may also lead to infection of head and neck as well. So how we will diagnose this particular infection is, we depend upon histopathology and cytopathology. So in women, to identify the cervical lesions, the cervical cancers, both benign and malignant, we depend on Pap smear. This is the screening method. Here we look for the precancerous cells. We look for the cells. We take the smear. There is a proper way of taking the smear. We take the smear from the um, uh, uh, sample from the cervical region, and then we prepare smear and we look for the precancerous cells or the cancerous cells in the smear. Then we can do the histopathological staining of the tissue biopsies. We have the molecular methods where we can look for HPV DNA through PCR or hybrid capture assay, and we can identify specific types, whether virus types, which type is involved in infection by targeting genes coding for E6 and E7. So coming to the, we have vaccine available for this. So you must know that we have, we can prevent these infections. We have the vaccine, HPV vaccine, which has shown to, it has shown to reduce the infection rate in all the HPV infections, including your cervical cancers as well. So, and it is important thing is that it is recommended in 11 to in pre-adolescent age group, that is your 11 to 12 years girls. So Viva may one can ask that when the HPV infection is advisable, when it is given. So this particular vaccine is given in pre-teen girls, that is generally 11 to 12 years. So we have these vaccines. Basically, they have three group of vaccines: Gardasil, Cervarix, and Gardasil 9, and they are prepared from the virus-like proteins, virus-like particles, which composed of your HPV L1 protein. Okay, so we have these virus-like particles which compose your L1 protein, and these are vaccines are prepared by genetic your recombinant technology. So in Merck, the Gardasil, which is manufactured by Merck, it is a quadrivalent. It has HPV 6, 11, 16, and 18. And Cervarix it is bivalent vaccine, and it is a nanovalent vaccine. Okay, this is a difference. These two are available in our country. And as I told you, it has to be given in teen girls. So vaccine schedule is 2026 and 016. So if you see in this, it has these 16, 18, 30, it has 9 serotypes, and these 16, 18, 31, and 58, they are most cancer-causing serotypes, and it has non-cancer-causing serotypes, that is 6 and 11 as well. Okay, and it also has 6 and 11. So it is a tetravalent, bivalent. These are common cancer-causing serotypes, which is there. So this was all about HPV. HPV vaccine is important. I mean, you should know that we do have a vaccine, and especially when it is given. Then another virus is molluscum contagiosum virus. It causes benign epidermal tumors like lesions, which are generally seen in your arm, buttocks, and genital area, and it is highly contagious disease. It is sexually transmitted in adults, and we basically look for the molluscum bodies. These nodules, these lesions, they have these hyaline acidophilic inclusion bodies. This is your molluscum bodies. Now coming to the genital scabies. Scabies is a condition where it's a skin infections, and which is there's a lot of itching in this infection, and it is caused by a parasite, the Sarcoptes scabi. And this Sarcoptes cabi is a mite. It's a very tiny mite. And this disease, scabies, as such as, it is spread through close contact, and but is also often spread by the sexual contact as well. So it has been seen in, in schools, poor housing complexes, etc., because it is spread by the close contact along with the sexual contact. So this is the mite, which is Sarcoptes cabi mite, and this mite, it basically, it burrows inside your skin. It forms tunnels in the stratum corneum of your skin and will deposit eggs in the burrows, which hatches within 10 days. The larva comes out, it molds, and then mature into adult mite. And it important thing is that it causes intense itchy skin rashes. So this particular uh, infection is basically a skin infection. So coming to the treatment, so the recommended regime is that we can use Lindane 1% lotion or cream, which is to be applied to all areas of the body from neck down and washed off thoroughly after 8 hours. So since it is spread by contact, so we have to, do the treatment from head to down up to, from the whole body. And if it is there in the family, then not only the person who has infection, we have to treat them, but along with that, the other family members, they have to be also treated. So we can use the Lindane 1% lotion, which we apply from head to down, wash thoroughly after 8 hours, or permethrin cream 5% or benzyl benzoate 25% lotion, just to be applied from the neck down for 2 nights. And then the patient will bath before reapplying the drug, and should bath after 24 hours after the final application. Or we can use Crota-Meton 10% lotion, which is also, so any medicine which you're using, there has to be applied from the neck to down, right? And you need to keep it for some time for drug to act. Similarly, we can use sulfur 6%. This was in adults, adolescent, and older children. Then for infants under 10 years of age and for pregnant and lactating women, we use permethrin 5% cream, and it is to be applied in the same way from head to down. And one has to, all the sexual contacts and the close household contacts, they have to be treated. This is very important, that one has to treat the other family members as well, because otherwise this infection will not go. We have to treat all the contacts, irrespective of whether they have an infection or not. Then another genital infection caused by lice is pediculosis pubis, that is a pubic lice. You must have heard about the head louse, your body louse. There are 3 types of lice: head, body, and pubic lice. And if you see this pubic lice, if you remember the picture of head louse, the pubic lice is it's more of a crab shape, and it is a blood-sucking arthropod. So what is the treatment for this? Is again, we can use Lindane 1% solution. The treatment is taken from the WHO. These are WHO guidelines for the treatment of STI. So this has been taken from the WHO manual. So treatment is Lindane 10% lotion or cream, which is to be rubbed gently but thoroughly into the infested area and adjacent hairy areas for 8 hours. or we can use plus piperonyl butoxide is applied to the infested and adjacent hairy areas and washed after 10 minutes, and retreatment is indicated after 7 days if lice are found or eggs are observed at the skin hair junction. So this we are talking of the genital infection, because this particular lice, it causes, as the name suggests, pubis. This particular lice, it causes pubic genital infection. Okay, head louse is different, and it appears different also. Then clothing or bed linen that may have been contaminated by the patient in the 2 days prior to the start of the treatment, that the linen and all, they should be washed and dry cleaned. So apart from the patient, one has to treat the clothing and bed linen as well. And we can use the permethrin 1% as above also. So these are the treatment agents which we can use in case of pediculosis pubis. Particularly HPV